Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster and I thought I'd do a video today about axes. Now I often get asked why do I use particular axes for certain types of carving, that kind of thing, and really the three main ones that I use are the ones behind me here. And you know, I thought it might be nice just to do a bit of a comparison video, give you my thoughts on why I like particular ones and what for and that kind of thing, and then maybe at the end, I'm actually balancing my axes, but I've got a couple of blanks there, and I figured I would just very quickly rough out a spoon with each one of these axes just to kind of give you an idea of kind of how they perform and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to bring the camera a little bit closer in and I'll give you a little bit more information about my three kind of favourite axes. Right then guys, so these are what I would consider to be my three favourite axes. They're certainly the ones I use most often. And the first one is this. This is the Gransfors mini hatchet, sometimes known as the Kubben. And it's a really nice, small, compact, packable axe. You know, it will fit in a jacket pocket, it will fit in a small pack, and you know, you've got a really nice sort of shaped handle on this. You can really get in close and do lots of detailed work without a longer handle kind of getting in the way. Some people prefer the wildlife axe, which has got a sort of maybe 6 inches more on the handle. Personally, I really like this one. And again, with sort of all Gransfors axes, or at least in my experience, they come really sharp. So that's a really nice, compact, portable, stick it in my jacket, take it out into the woods to do a bit of carving. The next one, relatively new acquisition for me. This is the Karlsson Sloyd axe. Again, nice lightweight head, larger, longer blade on this, which makes it a little bit more useful for some carving jobs. It's got a really nice, what's the word I'm looking for, bearded sort of head on it, so you can choke right up if you need to. Got a little bit of extra length on the handle if you want to use the momentum, though to be honest I usually use mine about halfway up. That's kind of my style of axe carving, but a really nicely made axe, this one. And again, something that I can kind of use as a dedicated carver, whereas this one, and one of the reasons I favoured this to begin with was because it's a jack of all trades. It carves really well. You can also use it for splitting, chopping down saplings, other kind of camp tasks. And then the last one here is the Gransfors Swedish carving axe. You will have seen this in a lot of my videos. Much bigger blade on there. It is an asymmetrical grind, which makes it good for planing cuts, but it is the heaviest of the three, and I do find that, you know, after using this for half an hour or so, my arm does begin to get quite tired. Sorry about the planes overhead, guys. But you know, those are my three favourite axes, and you know, I alternate between the three of them quite regularly. At the moment I'm using the Hans Karlsson a lot more regularly, just because it's fairly new and I'm still getting to grips with it. It's working really well. If I'm making spoons, I'll probably use this, maybe the little Kubben. If I'm doing something bigger, some bigger work, or some bowls or things like that, I'll certainly use this for the roughing out, because the extra weight on the head really does help with kind of stock removal. Now my plan is, I've just got some little blanks of birch here. They're all pretty much identical. One's slightly shorter, but it doesn't really matter too much. And what I've done, hopefully you can see just by my thumb here, I've made a little saw cut in each of them, which is where I'm going to be cutting in a little V, just to make the crank in the spoon. And what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to move the camera back out a little bit so you've got a bit of a better view. And I'm just going to do a quick spoon blank with all three of these axes. Now I'm going to take a little bit of a break in between each, so I'm fresh. I'll go in and have a cup of coffee or something, just so you can see kind of what I'll do. I think once I've done this, I'll bring I'll review the footage and I'll work out how long each axe has taken to do the same thing. Well, I'm not really one for making identical copies, but I'm going to use this little template. Hopefully you can see that all right. This is the spoon that I'm going to be trying to make, and I want to see, you know, how each of these performs, whether one of them does better at one part than the other, and that kind of thing, and really just give you a comparison of these three axes. Right, so I'm going to start off with my Swedish Carver. It's the heaviest one, so I thought I would use that first just to make it a fair comparison test. And I'm going to speed through this footage, and I'm just going to try and work this down. I'll use the template to mark on a few bits in a second once I've done the initial carving. But really this is just to see kind of how this one performs. So there you go guys, that's the first blank very quickly roughed out. Now this is usually about the stage I would move over to a knife and maybe a spoon knife to get my bowl in. But you know, all in all, I could probably do a bit more work on the back here maybe. In fact, maybe I'll do that now. Just to thin it down slightly. But you know, that is kind of where I would normally stop with my axe when I'm doing a blank. I do like the control that a knife allows you at this sort of stage. So that is the Gränsfors Bruks Swedish carving axe. I'm going to go and have a quick cup of coffee and then we'll move on to the next one. So axe number 2 is the Karlsson Sloyd axe, and as I said, you know, I'm favouring this axe at the moment. I've been doing a lot of work with it. It's not a heavy axe by any means, and it does mean you can kind of sit there and carve away for a fairly long amount of time without getting too tired. So there you go guys, blank number 2 all done. And to be honest, you know, bearing in mind, I think because I'm using this axe a lot more recently, you know, I'm a little bit more proficient with it. I'm able to get a little bit closer into the little indentations where the handle meets the bowl. But yeah, you know, as a blank, I'm quite pleased with that. Right, so time for the last one guys, and this is my little Kubben, and actually this is probably the one that I haven't used for the longest amount of time, so I apologise if this one does take a bit longer. Blade shape is slightly different, so I do need to get my eye back in.
And there we have blank number 3. And to be honest, I'm quite pleased with that. For an axe I've not used for a good few months, that seems to have turned out pretty well.
Right then guys, well that was quite a nice little half hour's worth of work, and I'll show you these close up very quickly. So from, what's this, my right, so your left, from left to right, we've got the one we did with the GB Swedish Carver, the one with the Hans Karlsson, and the one with the Kubben. And you know, I think you'll agree, you know, they're all reasonably good spoon blanks, you know, nothing wrong. This one's a little bit thicker, but you know, all in all, they've turned out reasonably well. The interesting thing was actually the times. So the one with the Swedish Carver was the quickest of the lot at 8.5 minutes. The Hans Karlsson was 9 minutes, and the Kubben was 11 minutes. Now what does that mean in reality? Not a great deal. It's probably more of a reflection of my mediocre skill with an axe rather than the axes themselves. But it does show you that kind of they all carve reasonably the same as far as kind of the, you know, me as a single person using them. You know, they've all taken roughly the same amount of time, give or take 10 minutes to knock up a blank. Now back to the purpose of this video, axe comparison. So what am I trying to say to you? So these are the axes I use. The Gransfors Swedish Carver, well known to most people. It's a fairly heavyweight axe as far as hatchets go, and it's very good at stock removal, very good at sort of medium to heavy work, but you can actually use it really well for fine detail. I mean, I realise this one is probably the untidiest and thickest of the lot, but you know, it's a really, really nice axe. Carves really well, and once you've got kind of a feel for it, you know, you can choke right up, you can do a lot of detail. So if you have got relatively good upper arm strength, or you're going to be using it, say, for roughing out lots of blanks in a row, it's really, really good for that. The Hans Karlsson, you can rough out a blank just as easily, and personally I'm favouring this one at the moment, as I've already said, more because it's new and I'm kind of getting a feel for it. But you know, it's like this, it's another dedicated carving axe. That's really all you use them for, and it does it really, really well. I think it's better for small items like this, spoons, spatulas, kind of relatively small to medium sized bits of work. The Swedish Carver a little bit better for some bigger things if you're doing maybe bowls and stuff like that. And then the Kubben, still really, really like this one. As I say, the benefit of this is, above the others, is that you can use it for a multitude of things. It does carve really well, as I hope this kind of little blank demonstrates, but it's also nice and portable and packable. You can slip it in a belt, a pocket, in a rucksack. And you can use it for bushcraft tasks as well. So if you are on a budget maybe and you want an axe that will do a bit of everything, this will work really, really well. So that's it, guys. I mean, as I say, there's a few other axes I'd like to try eventually. The Svante Jarv, sorry, should I say, little Viking axe, really, really want to try that. Nick Westerman's axes, which have got quite a long waiting list, I'd love to try one of those at some point. Robin Wood makes a carving axe that's very reasonably priced that I'd like to try. And who's the other one? Ben Orford also makes, I think it's the Nordic Carver off the top of my head. That looks like a really nice and reasonably priced axe as well. So those are the two that I'd really like to, or the three I'd really like to try. These are the three I favour at the moment. And you know, I think I made a video about, you know, can you have too many knives quite some time ago, and I suppose the question moves over to axes. Can you have too many axes? My opinion, absolutely not. I like trying new tools. Do I use one more than the rest at the moment? I certainly do. It's definitely the Hans Karlsson Sloyd axe, but that's more because it's new and I'm just enjoying getting a feel for it. So that's really it, guys, for today. I hope it's been a bit thought-provoking. I hope it you know, inspires you to maybe ask some questions on the comments below. You know, if you want to know anything about these axes, I'd love to give you some feedback if you're thinking about making a purchase and they're a little bit undecided. So yeah, I hope it was useful. Comments and questions in the box below. Hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I hope you'll all join me next time. Thanks, guys.